There are over 8 million stories here in the Big Apple, some well known, others obliviously left behind.
Polo became necessary. It was never really in my mind or in my thoughts that it would turn out this way.
Polo was our life, man. It was everything we thought about every day. It was, what we dreamed about when we went to sleep, We just wanted to be fly.
When you wear this thing, man, it was pretty much like you the young Jesus of the days, man.
This is the story of the fashion renaissance that undoubtedly left its mark on New York City.
Polo was the way of life. Polo represented the highest brand of clothing ever made.
Having polo is like having food, eating.
It kind of made us feel that we were closer to those that were more affluent.
Some kids got robbed for it. Some kids got really hurt trying to wear low. Some kids spent all their money and all their parents' money buying it.
It was almost like crack.
The fact that you were wearing polo gave you a different level of respect. Even though you were Haitian, but you were fresh, it gave you a sense of self-esteem. It gave you a sense of pride.
Now it's bigger than one individual. It's
worldwide.
Everybody coming together in terms of unity.
The story of how Polo Ralph Lauren bridged a gap between fashion and culture.
I dress different, I look different, I talk different, and they took it as weakness.
The story of how a nation of people endured prejudice and injustice in an effort to assimilate into a new world.
It wasn't like 1, 2, 3, 4 of them have polo. Maybe like 10, 20, 30 of them have polo, everything polo. So when you walking down the block, you see the colors, you see all the colors. You know how polo is, the colors is just outstanding.
Having it on, feeling like I was the man, and the trouble that comes along with it. You gotta always look over your shoulder.
And most importantly, what their children did to overcome it all.
What we had to do for this thing is that we had to bleed for it, and our DNA's in it now. They don't know the magic that's in the clothes.
It was actually the first bridge that us Haitians took to get us to where we are now, as far as gaining our respect.
This is the Haitian Polo documentary.
I'm gonna give you the main reason why people like me wore polo. One of the main reasons was to get respect. Because remember, you Haitian. You had to wear something to kind of camouflage you in. The girls, they would not talk to you if you're not fly, especially if you're Haitian. Your neighborhood, you would get no respect in your neighborhood if you don't come outside with the illest ITs. Now, these are the main reasons to me why, guys like me wore polo.
Before we go any further, let me take you through Haitian history. Haiti, Le Perle des Antilles, the Pearl of the Caribbean, was the richest island in the Western world. Haiti was also the first place in the Western world where Africans were brought in chains.
You have black slaves who came from Africa as slaves, went to this little island called Hispaniola, which is Haiti. Over there, that's when the revolution started, for the black slaves to get their freedom.
The history of the Haitian people is really based on freedom. The freedom of the mind, the freedom of the soul. It's the mentality of the slavery we want to refill and reject out of a system.
The Haitian Revolution began on August 14, 1791, with the ceremony of Wakaima. During the meeting, final instructions were given with regards to the logistics for carrying out the plan. Wakaima was engineered by the Master of Ceremony, Boukman Duty, a Maroon leader and voodoo priest from Jamaica, along with rebel leaders Jean-François Bessu and Jeannot.
Let any man who have voices speak, let him speak. Name the first place in the Western Hemisphere where the African was brought in chain. It was Haiti. The first place where the African broke the chain of slavery, shackled, it was Haiti.
White people thought that we loved slavery until the Haitians set the pace.
Following the initial insurrection, the Revolutionary War continued for a period of 12 years under the leadership of Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Toussaint Louverture, Henri Christophe, Pétion, and many other Haitian revolutionaries. On January 1st, 1804, after 12 years of blood, sweat, and tears, Haiti became the world's first Black republic to gain its independence. The original name of Haiti was finally restored. To this day, Haiti is the first and only Black republic to gain its independence through Revolutionary War.
Haiti is a very, 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 very important island in the Pan-African struggle. In 1803, Haiti was the most democratic country in the world. It was the only country in the world that did not allow slavery on its borders. The only country in the world. Even after slavery was made illegal throughout the Western Hemisphere and was even abandoned and emancipation proclamations were read everywhere, Haiti continued to be the guiding inspiration for Africans throughout the Western Hemisphere. It was not until 1915 that American imperialism could put the heels of the Marines on Haiti, install Papa Doc, a scum of our race, one who would bow down to the wishes of imperialism and rape his people without the slightest mercy.
Both of my parents worked in a factory in Long Island. They worked there, the minimum wage was about $3.25 or $3.75, I think. Now, however, my father, when my father get out of work around 6 in the evening, he would do extra work in the form of, driving gypsy cabs. He would drive gypsy cabs for about, 4 hours going to the night, just to have enough money, to take care of us, to pay the rent, the light bill, and to buy us food.
To come with money to provide for their children and their families. When you hear about a dollar cab, Haitians run that whole circuit right there.
One of the biggest problems that my parents faced when they came to America was the language, first of all. Imagine you come into a new language, you don't understand it, and back in your own island, you was a doctor. When you come up here, it's like you gotta start from scratch. Just for the simple fact that you don't know the language, they will not accept you in no university or no hospital to become a doctor. So you have to start from the bottom to go right back up. That's why still nowadays you have Haitian doctors that have no choice but to do yellow cabs or to go sweep the floor. It's an experience of a life, and you have to make the money to survive.
The Haitians who came here back then faced a lot of problems. Obviously, one of the problems they faced during the times is the language barrier. They don't speak English. Their background is French and Creole.
Our parents did not know exactly what they were getting into. They didn't know what we were going through.
What does it mean to be an American and an African? My question went deeper. What does it mean to be an African, an American, and a Haitian American, and a Haitian African American? So we have 3 different levels to deal with. When you live in the ghetto, you got your brothers coming from Jamaica, Trinidad, Tobago, and all the other places. They come here speaking English, but yet, when you come here, you got to deal with the HBO thing, but then you hear you Frenchy, man, because your English ain't measure up.
The United States is home to over 500,000 Haitian immigrants, a number which is expected to grow and double by the year 2050.
The Haitian community in New York City, we have the 2nd largest Haitian population in the United States.
Especially Brooklyn being, besides Miami, Brooklyn being the #1 spot where Haitians would immigrate to.
In reality, we all came out here just to better ourselves. We felt like this was the land. This was the land of freedom. This was the land of opportunity. Why not just come?
In the Haitian mindset, it was coming to this country, getting a job, saving your money, getting a house, and then retiring back in Haiti. All Haitian families just wanted to do was trying to find a better way to provide for back home.
We didn't have like the big cars and all this and that. We had to do a lot of stuff to get what we had to get.
When my mother came up here, she had to suffer from prejudice, racism, and all extra kind of stuff.
Assimilating into the American culture has its positive part and its negative part.
The most job that the Haitians could really get at that time was the job of struggling, which is the very low wages of wages. And at the end of the day, they realized, you know what, to survive, we gotta do it. You know what I'm saying? We could only do it not for ourselves, but for our kids that's coming behind us. That's the whole mentality of being free.
The value is basically goes like this: school, church, and home. In the Haitian community, we call it the 3 L's.
L'église, that means church. L'école, school, and l'accueil, which means home. That's the 3 L's we only knew.
They want us to go to church. They want us to go to school so we could become intellectuals and educated people and productive people in the society. And they want us to stay home so we won't be in any trouble in the street, get into any drama. So these were the values in a standardized Haitian household.
What Haitian parents wanted from their children was actually for them not to get Americanized. They wanted them to remain like as if they were raised by just that Haitian culture. They didn't want us to be influenced at all by what we saw on these streets. They wanted us to wear shoes and slacks with button-down shirts tucked in to school.
Slacks, a lot of sweaters, a lot of button-ups, dress shirts, church shoes, you know, the typical.
Their resolution for everything is, you know, you better be quiet or I'm just gonna hit you. You know, they didn't know about, you know, rejects. They cost $1.99. Rejects, they make your feet feel fine. You know, they didn't know about that stuff.
I was wearing reject clothes, and you know, if you dress like that, you Haitian, they know. I didn't fit in with the other kids. They would laugh, make fun of me, you know. They would start teasing me on the bus. The bus ride was the most horrific, like, you know, time of my day. I begged my father. He was tired of coming to my school because the dean and the principal would always call because I would always get jumped because of the way I dressed.
They was going to school with the white boys and them like that.
Kids would go there to learn, but they were not really learning. They weren't really, you know, trying to protect themselves and trying to prevent themselves from getting beat up by other kids, especially the Haitian kids. Once you're a Haitian, man, you have many marks against you. You're from the Caribbean, you dress a certain way, you speak a certain way, and you look a certain way. So all of these things were strikes, and especially if you did not have the proper attire, you know, that blends in with what the other kids were wearing. You wear food.
It was crazy because you're getting chastised at home for not wearing it, but then if you wear it to school, you're getting bullied.
Growing up in New York City, Haitian kids were often the victims of bullying and discrimination, sort of like a pariah to society.
There was a real level of discrimination against Haitian people in this country.
In New York, out here in Brooklyn, it was a big thing.
We was discriminated against, unfortunately, because our culture, where we was born, you know.
Come outside and play is a struggle. I had to fight every day on Crown Street.
Been up here since '84, and from back then. Jumped into school in the 2nd grade. It was nothing like back home, man, because, yo, out here, these kids was fly. Me, I'm going to school wearing dress shoes and regular skippies and things like that, so now they're like picking on me.
Yeah, I ain't speak no English, they used to call me Frenchie.
I see everybody dressing different.
Just being Haitian, not being American, like American. That was the only issue and stuff like that.
I seen what Haitians went through in the early 80s and all that. I lived in Miami as well, back and forth, so I witnessed it from Miami to New York.
I ain't gonna front. Back in the days, I didn't really tell too much people I was Haitian, because anytime you tell somebody you're Haitian, they want to try to beat you up or rob you. I don't know for what reason.
You have to go to a lie. They didn't want to accept you among the community, among their surroundings. Us Haitians think like being blacks is all the same, but the American mentality was different.
But at that time, the Haitians wasn't really respected because they was from Haiti, you know what I'm saying?
If you're Haitian growing up in Brooklyn, in those days, in the 80s, it instantly meant that you were a target. People were going to target you for whatever they wanted to try to do.
We used to wait on the side blocks for them to come home from school, and as soon as they found out we was waiting on the side blocks, we go on the next side block and catch them early.
We used to wait for them after school coming from Wingate.
I ain't know nothing about different cultures from the West Indies and all that until I went to Wingate. Wingate showed me that, oh, it's Bajans, it's Trinidadians. I thought everybody with an accent was Jamaican. But everybody was always against the Haitians.
Man, like, the Haitians had their area, the Panamanians had their area, and the Americans, we had our area. You know what I'm saying? You had the goons outside, and it was what it was for me.
To make it down the hill, straight up to the front of the school, with Polo on, that was a long way. First time I know a Haitian was fed up, it was a kid named Haitian Nixon from Brooklyn and Sterling. They had a basement party. It was called The Pit. Everybody used to cut hooky. You had to be there to understand this. Back in the days, everybody played hooky. You go to a basement party called The Pit, Nostrand and Lincoln Road. It was like a store basement, and you walk down the staircase. It was called A Pit. I don't know what happened, but we was there. I saw the Haitians fighting with the guys that was running the pit, the Lincoln Road crew, and they all of a sudden the Haitian grabbed his book bag and came back running and pulled a gun and pointed down the staircase. We was robbing them for stupid stuff at times. We go inside the game room, take their video games. We catch them coming from the Chinese store, we take their Chinese food. The Haitians just ain't had respect back then.
There was also two different parallels to that same effect, because regardless, there were the Haitians that said, yeah, I am proud to be Haitian, and I am what I am, and you gonna do what you gonna do, and we gonna knuckle it out. And then there was the ones that kind of fell back and never even went and into the forefront to fight for our freedom, to say. We were like prisoners in the United States in itself, in terms of just being a Haitian or Haitian American or from Haitian descent. I mean, we were considered the bottom of the totem pole.
Some of them that was claiming that they was just straight American, they was really like black Haitians American. You know what I'm saying? But they would just to fit into the American life, they'll deny the fact that they Haitian and just get a thrill out of just beating up on the next Haitian kid.
I was doing the Haitian people, I was with Haitian brothers. You know what I'm saying? And we just trying to do it to each other.
See how, people were pushed to a point to even deny their nationalities and have no pride for it because of the way America predicted them and made them look, and straight foul business.
But there used to be like a church, the Haitian church, and it had like green carpet on the ground. And as kids, everyone would avoid walking on that carpet because they said if you was to walk on that Haitian carpet, you would get a disease or something like that. So they made it as far as like in a fun aspect and everything like that. That's how bad it was back in the days. This was like 1986.
Federal health officials consider it an epidemic, yet you rarely hear a thing about it. At first, it seemed to strike only one segment of the population. Now, Barry Peterson tells us this is no longer the case.
It's a disease first detected in the gay community that has now spread beyond that. A disease experts are now calling a national epidemic. There is a 1 in 5 chance a victim will die within the first year of the illness. It appeared a year ago in New York's gay community, then in the gay communities in San Francisco and Los Angeles. Now it's been detected in Haitian refugees. No one knows why. And in heavy drug users, especially in New York City. No one knows why. At the Center for Disease Control in Atlanta, where 400 cases have been reported, a special task force has now been set up. And there are more whys. Why just certain geographic areas? Why just certain groups? And most frightening, the possibility that the virus can be transmitted from person to person, virtually, a contagious form of cancer. Specialists argue that millions of dollars should be spent for research now.
By finding the cause of this, we may be able to dissect out that part.
What we can learn from this group of individuals is absolutely unbelievable.
In April of 1990, we had a big march here. That was a profound moment.
Haitians was classified as the one that brought AIDS into America.
All the Haitians from all walk of life gathered over there by Grand Army Plaza, and then we took the bridge. Once we marched toward the bridge, we started shaking that mother.
The Food and Drug Administration says they can't give blood in this country because of the threat of AIDS. Well, the Haitians say that's discriminatory, racist, and they're not going to accept that ruling lying down. So today they stood up and marched.
Our children are going to school here. We are paying our tax as everybody else. There is no reason why, without any pertinent data, they should put those things on Haitians.
The original stigma brought upon the Haitian community from the FDA was just a great deal of embarrassment.
In addition to the thousands of community and student activists from the Haitian community, there were families with small children who came to Lower Manhattan to denounce the FDA's recent ruling.
We do not give aid and stop the discrimination.
One healthcare worker who works in Brooklyn says the evidence linking Haitians and Africans to AIDS here in the U.S. does not hold up.
In your dealings in the hospitals, you don't see any large percentage of Haitians or Africans with AIDS.
No, because you see AIDS in all colors, all nations, all nationalities. For about 3 hours, the Brooklyn Bridge was closed to traffic with backups for miles along the BQE.
We showed them how, when you unite and you come together, how powerful you can be.
That's what I respect about Haitians, is their drive in society. As being movers and shakers, you know, coming from, you know, basically the bottom up.
These kids nowadays have it easy. You know, they don't know nothing about the fact that if you spoke Creole, you know, in broad daylight, like, you'll get into a fight over that. If you even exposed that you were Haitian, you know, that was reason enough to be picked on.
In the 80s, like as me, come from Haiti to New York City, it was very different. Different culture, different language. It was very tough to be in New York City at that time.
They knew we was Haitian, even though we tried to hide it. You know, unfortunately, people knew. You know, we had a lot of us had the accents. A lot of us, you know, and you could see in our report cards or wherever, you could see that by names and everything that we Haitian.
We came here. Duvalier was the reason why we came here. What Haitian you know? You don't love Haiti. Nice sun, beautiful beaches. You love your country to death, but you have to run to look for a sense of identity in America. We came here, we know what hell is, man. Andres ain't further, got nothing on us. We know what it is because we live it. 84, I came here, I know what it is. I was 61. Empire Boulevard, like we spoke to already, man. We came in, we landed here, not one word of English, but we know what pain is. So a lot of brothers, we ain't no longer here. Those who got deported, dead, and buried.
So much has happened over these last years. So much to shake the foundations of all that we know and all that we believe in. Today, there's a drug and alcohol abuse epidemic in this country, and no one is safe from it. Not you, not me, and certainly not our children, because this epidemic has their names written on it. Many of you may be thinking, well, drugs don't concern me, but it does concern you. It concerns us all because of the way it tears at our lives and because it's aimed at destroying the brightness and life of the sons and daughters of the United States.
See this cute little vial here? It's crack, rock cocaine, the most addictive form. You think it's the glamour drug of the 80s? Well, that's the point of this friendly little reminder. It can kill you. And if you've got to die for something, this sure as hell ain't it.
From about 1984 to the early mid-90s, crack hit the 5 boroughs of New York City in a way unlike any other drug before, destroying families, communities, and the overall social structure. Crime was at an all-time high.
Murder in a Brooklyn schoolyard, and the hunt is on tonight for a gunman who shot and killed a teenage student.
5 youths were arrested at 96th Street, all between 14 and 15 years of age.
Larry Edmondson is dead, killed in an attempted robbery.
Down East New York section of Brooklyn, 10 people, 2 women, 8 children, were shot dead, apparently by 2 killers using .38 and .22 caliber guns. It is believed to be a drug-related crime. There was 1 survivor, an 11-month-old girl.
Not at all that unusual to see drugs being sold on street corners in New York City. For a long time, part of the city had been described as an open-air supermarket for drugs.
The situation erupted last night. About 9 o'clock, a group of guardian angels and a group of alleged crack dealers began to fight.
It's widely known that violence is common, but many argue it's also tolerated, as long as blacks and Hispanics fight each other, and as long as they do it in their own neighborhoods.
David Opon just said no to drugs.
The price he paid was being burned over more than half of his body, police say by a 13-year-old boy.
We see what happens when young children just say no. And I think it's very important for people to look at David's situation and realize his situation and realize that things are much worse than we would like to believe.
There are people who sleep in the city's streets, in the gutter, where the glitter doesn't show. There are ghettos where thousands of young people without a job or an education give their lives away to drug dealers every day. There is despair, Mr. President, in the faces that you don't see, in the places that you don't visit, in your shining city.
During the 1980s, New York City was considered to be one of the most dangerous places in America. 31 out of every 100,000 New Yorkers were murdered each year. In 1988 alone, there were over 2,000 reports of murder, more than 5,000 reports of forcible rape, and over 218,000 accounts of burglary. New York City was indeed the rotten apple.
The best way that I could describe it in one word is jungle. I mean, for me at least, you know, everybody has their different reality. My reality at the time, I was living on one of the most notorious blocks in Flatbush, Brooklyn at the time, which is Argyle Road between Church and Peyton. So all that I was exposed to was nothing but drugs and violence. You know what I mean? Dudes sold drugs on my block all day. People were shot and killed on my block all day, every day. You know, it's funny because, for instance, a story like Paid in Full, you know, I see how it's been so publicized, but the truth is there were 1 million reporters and outposts all over New York.
I don't even know how to explain it, man. It was wild, like real wild. Crime was crazy, crack was everywhere, so you know, thank God for crack, because all the drug dealers was the ones who used to buy everything off of us when we used to bring it back.
The 80s was really crazy, man. Kind of think about it. You know, coming up here, my mom's teaching me not to look nobody in the eye, because you know, you'll get hurt, you'll get robbed. So I had to turn around and build a different mentality, as if I have to figure out a way to protect myself. You know, I didn't know about the guns back then, but my best friend was the butcher knife. I'll sneak up in the house and put a butcher knife in my book bag. Imagine being in junior high and in elementary school and knowing that I could get robbed for my book bag, so I had no choice but to protect myself one way or the other.
I don't remember not seeing a cop getting shot in the news like every day. They couldn't even walk by Vanderbilt Projects without even getting shot at. I mean, I grew up in a time where junior high school kids were more ruthless than high school kids. I went to Walt Whitman Junior High, where we were the worst junior high school in Brooklyn. We were robbing kids from Erasmus.
Go to school to Erasmus, it's like being in a war zone. You have to be extremely tough.
You're trying to take your life.
I came from Haiti in 1986. It was hell. When I say hell, I mean hell on earth. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the time the Jamaicans went crazy. You understand what I'm saying? They were selling drugs all over the place. Helicopters coming on top of the building. People getting shot. You know what I'm saying? The Decepticons. It was a nightmare.
The subway was crazy. You know, the subway was a whole nother world on its own. So living in New York, you had to create something to ride the subway. You had to be about something. You had to, you know, live the New York life and understand the rules here, man, and how it went down. Like, crime on the subway by itself was crazy.
It's almost impossible to become an expert on the whole subway system. It's amazingly huge. 25 lines, 6,334 cars, 3,500 cops, 720 miles of track, 6,000 trips a day. You know what's the most dangerous time to be on the subway? Middle of the night, right? Wrong. There is more crime, and I'm talking about violent, serious crime, between 2 and 4 in the afternoon than at any other time. That's just when the kids are getting out of school. There are more subway criminals than ever before, and they're getting younger and younger every year.
Just by you open a car door, it's like we the main attraction. It's like the movie coming out, you feel what I'm saying? Once you open the door, eye contact is already made. Two things, either you give it up or you stand your ground.
There wasn't a day I didn't see somebody get robbed, stuck up for their coat, sweater, sneakers. It didn't matter. I can remember on the train, sitting there, and all of a sudden, the doors go flying open, and a whole bunch of guys start walking through the cars, and they're like, who are we? D-Sex. Who are we? D-Sex. It's the first time we ever bumped heads with Decepticons. And they saw a kid sitting there with logos. And one of them just rolled up to him and like, I like the coat, take it off. And the guy said no, and they beat his ass. More than 50 dudes just pounded on him. Took the coat, got over the next stop like it was nothing. I mean, that was just everyday life.
I came up in a time when you could still get robbed on the train, you could still smoke weed and drink beer on the last car on the 2 train in New York in the 80s. You could still get sized up for your kicks or your jacket in the 80s. You could still go to a club and get robbed of your chain in the 80s. The 80s was hip hop was new, but it was dangerous. You could still go, that's what made it fun. You could go to Latin Quarter, Union Square, and you might know somebody's gonna get robbed tonight or somebody's gonna get beat up, but you still wanted to go because you wanted to be a part of that action. You was over there, Latin Quarters, there was McDonald's across the street, it was the game room over there on 42nd Street.
A lot of Flatbush dudes, they wasn't dancing as much as that. Everybody wanna be the gunman or hold a knife or whatever the case, or be fighting.
The thing is about the 80s, sometimes you could go outside to the store, you don't even think you're coming back home.
It was more of a nightmare because I did not know what the hell was going on and I did not know how to speak English. So how the hell I'm gonna fight my way through this and I don't even know where to start. I can't even communicate.
I mean, you could not walk the streets of Flatbush or anywhere else if you wasn't with your parents. Because if you was by yourself, you was getting robbed. Plain and simple. It was just a wild time.
The thing with the 80s was the fact that you had to have courage, you had to have morals, you had to have principles. You basically had to earn the right to be fly, because if you weren't respected, whatever you had to be taken.
New York, the cars really didn't matter to us, you know. We had to train. Your character, your strength, your heart, that mattered more than anything, because, you know, coming from the places we came from, it was rough. You had to be able to withstand it, you know, you had to be able to stand up the next day. You had to be able to go through the trials and the fights and the drama and still come back out and look at the same people once again the next day. So it was more about your character, who you were, being a stand-up man, a man of your word and different things like that. But you also had to be ruthless, you know. We came from the environment where everybody was eating everybody alive. Any little thing you got, somebody wants to come take it, anything.
Some guys from my neighborhood was driving around in a van looking, they call it a polo hunt. They call it a low hunt. You know, they call polo low for sure. It's on a low hunt and jury hunt, because people used to wear big Gucci links back then. They saw a crowd by this building. They stopped the van, it was going on in here. They said, yo, it was a party. And it's some older guys to me at the time. They're older to me, they was in their 20s. I'm a teenager at the time. They said, yeah, there's a party in here? Man, we about to stick up the whole party. So what y'all talking about? They looked in the party, they said, yo, we coming in. They pull out the shotgun, they went there, they pushed the door open. The whole crowd behind the door was trying to push the door closed to get them out. But the stick-up men pushed the door open, flew the door open, and everybody fell inside. They started running inside there with the shotguns. The door closed. I just heard people screaming and stuff. And we ran outside next to them a couple of minutes later. The man came out with all types of chains in their hand and money, and they just robbed everybody. Wallets dropping. I think they robbed the whole party.
You witness robberies on a daily basis. You either get shot, you either standing next to somebody who got shot. There was no limit to what the eyes were able to see.
Every temptation that was around was basically negative, whether it was selling drugs, whether it was robbing. I can recall being 6 years old. I used to live on the 4th floor of my building, And I remember eating cereal on the steps. And I remember this guy, this drug dealer on my block, getting chased by the cops up the stairs. He gets up there, he pulls out like this big ass Ziploc bag full of crack. He says, "Shorty, hold this for me." He sticks it down my goddamn pants and he runs up on the roof. Now, about 10 seconds after he gets up there, the cops run up the stairs and they're like, "Did you see somebody?" Mind you, I'm like 6, 7 years old. How did I know to go, "No, I didn't see anybody"?
America must stand for something. Our heritage lets us stand with a strength of character made more steely by each layer of challenge pressed upon the nation. America has accomplished so much in these last few years, whether it's been rebuilding our economy or serving the cause of freedom in the world. What we've been able to achieve has been done with your help, with us working together as a nation united. Now, we need your support again. Drugs are menacing our society. They're threatening our values and undercutting our institutions. They're killing our children. Despite our best efforts, illegal cocaine is coming into our country at alarming levels, and 4 to 5 million people regularly use it. 500,000 Americans are hooked on heroin. 1 in 12 persons smokes marijuana regularly. Regular drug use is even higher among the age group 18 to 25. Most likely just entering the workforce. Today, there's a new epidemic, smokable cocaine, otherwise known as crack. It is an explosively destructive and often lethal substance which is crushing its users.
Crack was a good thing when it first came out. And it sounds crazy, but like when I was a youth coming up in New York, it was coming out of like the old Jack era, the Rich Porter era, the Alpo era, when they was like, you know, still with the cocaine, this, that. And remember, I came up uptown, Small Paul, those type of dudes. So when you was in the club, you was smoking woolies and this and that. Remember, you want to crack it up? Smoke it!
Attention users and abusers.
Down and out losers.
Stop chasing that cloud that never fails to elude ya.
Spending that money like it's
Minute Maid to get stupid charged on a whole week's pay.
You still steady burning?
Cause the fire stays hot.
It's like 24/7.
You're at the crack spot.
It takes you out of the world, you know, like when you feel, you know, when you feel confused and you feel alone and you feel a lot of pressure and everything. It's like you go and you take a hit.
I remember a point, especially uptown in the Bronx, where if you ain't have no coke or if you ain't have no woolies, the broads was like, "Oh, this is lame right here. He ain't got nothing like that." You know what I'm saying? So that was the era that I came up with, and a lot of those people fell from that era.
Through that struggle, you know, the love of Polo became just infathomable, just because it's the way it looked, the respect you got.
You see fly dudes, fly people everywhere, so you want it to be like that too. If you see an OG on your block, you know, looking a certain way, you want to look that way too. He's like your role model. Like, damn, man, this dude coming through here with all his fly Gucci links and his clothes and his girls. Man, you want to be just like that.
We wore a lot of tracksuits, so we wore things from Puma, Adidas, Aniche. We wore Lee's, we wore Levi's, we wore Kangos, Wallabies,
Versace, Gucci,
Ferragamo, Fila, OP, you know what I'm saying, Jabot, Tommy Hilfiger.
You had Liz Claiborne,
Jerry's, Spiders, Columbia's, you know what I'm saying, the rain suits.
The black guys, all the Gore-Tex stuff. Gore-Tex boots.
Elise's.
Sergio Tacchini's.
Reebok. Man, you name it. Nautica.
Calvin Klein, you had Hugo Boss.
Definitely Guess.
Nikes.
We touched every brand, man. Everything. Shams the Baron. Oh, about Shams the Baron.
Baddies.
Timberland.
Clarks. British Walkers, you know? Not British Knights.
3-figure ring, gold teeth.
Rope chains, cables, things like that.
Official hood fly gear. And that was another thing. It had to be hood. It had to be ghetto. You had to rock it in a hood form and fashion. It was part of an evolution of fashion and hip hop, because before all of this, you know, I come from the era of wearing the sheepskins and gazelles and the Adidas shoes, the suede Pumas, you know, we evolved from all of that.
That's the only thing we had in the hood. It's like the idol, it's like the thrill of just knowing, like, you know, you're part of something.
I always just like to be fast.
Up to the poor Gucci. He wasn't a genius. Polo hit the scene. Everything else faded away. I mean, we really didn't wear anything else. Polo was mainstream.
Low, for you to understand it, you had to been there back then because you was getting robbed constantly. It was like, if you have drugs in the house, you have money in the house, and then you have Polo in the house. Out of all three of them spots, they're gonna rob the house with the Polo before they rob the house with the crack, the house with the money. It was an era like no other. Nobody ever saw an era like that.
They fell in love with this Polo culture because it was sort of like this fantasy world where now you're a superstar and you didn't need a car. You didn't need anything. You just needed to have that P-O-L-O, and you were the flyest dude on the block.
The nicest design, the clothing, the way it looks, the thrill of just having it, to put it on, it was just the excitement behind it.
You could wear Polo back then, and you walking in the street, and a guy could be over here in his Benz, and the girls would come down the street. You know who they're gonna look at? The guy with the Polo. That's how serious it was.
It also like signified status, you know, because back then also, you know, Polo, you get robbed for it, you get it taken off your back and all that. So if you able to have a lot of Polo and keep it, then you were really somebody at that time, you know.
And my man Kiki from Ebersfield, they ran up in his house and killed him. You know, his mom came home and couldn't find his body. You know what they found missing? The only thing they killed him for? All his Polo.
That's what wearing Polo meant back in those days. You never know what's gonna happen. You can put the clothes on and you leave your house. You don't know if you're gonna make it back.
No joke. Era we grew up in, no joke.
You had to have it, man. Think about it. Everybody around you wearing something that everybody liked. If you don't have it on, you don't feel important. So that's kind of like what the necessity to it. And you know, once you have it, you feel like you're part of the crowd. You feel like everybody gonna talk about you. You feel like you could get this girl, you could get that girl.
Polo was Brooklyn. Brooklyn was Polo. All the fly dudes, all the dudes that was in the game. If you was the man, you was wearing Polo.
We wanted to live that life of like the aristocrats. When we was little kids, we see white men dressing cardigans and sweaters and ties and bow ties. We wanted to live that life.
We were from the inner cities, you know, some of the poorest parts of Brooklyn. But it was funny to go to these slums and you would see kids dressed up in 3-button polo shirts with polo chino slacks and moccasins. You know, dressed in ways that you wouldn't really expect them to.
It was more about the style that we were creating within the clothes and how we wore it. Because, like I said, all the kids in Princeton and Harvard and Yale, they were wearing the Polo, but they weren't wearing it the way we were doing it, you know? We added that ghetto and that hood fabulousness to it, you know, and took it to another level.
It was just wearing whatever name that's most popular. Whatever name, like when you put it on, that makes the most noise, as we would call it in the hood. Polo really making the noise because that was the brand that the hood recognized. And that's what gives you the respect. You know what I mean? That's what Polo was all about. But kids really didn't know the brand, who was behind it, the designer, what was in his mind when he created it. So none of that was affiliated with putting it on.
Ralph Lifshitz, known to us today as Ralph Lauren, was born October 14, 1939, in the Bronx to poor immigrant parents of Russian Jewish lineage. He later served in the U.S. Army before becoming a tie salesman and designer. His colorful and intricate tie designs were considered to be a stark contrast to the designs of the time. He would begin his own journey into the world of fashion in 1967. The first official Polo store was a boutique shop in Bloomingdale's. A visionary ahead of his time, Ralph combined art and ingenuity to create masterpieces that would last a lifetime.
Ralph Lauren was, you know, a poor person from the Bronx, so, you know, from my knowledge, and somebody who started a clothing line by selling ties and things on the street.
Before he became Ralph Lauren was Ralph Lifshitz.
Now, the Lifshitz, as he noticed, was not marketable, so he changed it into Lauren.
From the tie, then he switches design to making clothing.
Sport jackets, hats, shoes, anything you can think of in the fashion world, Ralph Lauren pretty much, you know, has his hand on it.
Polo is a sport that was played by the rich and wealthy.
It's a sport that's played on a horse with sticks and a ball on the ground.
Ralph Lauren took advantage of the situation and designed clothes for the sport, which in essence made him a very wealthy man.
The genius thing about Ralph Lauren, he captured that sport and he put it on his designs. And he built an empire with it.
Ralph Lauren may never know the full extent of the impact that he and his brand had on inner city fashion culture to this day.
We really didn't know anything about Ralph Lauren. What you have to realize is most of the kids that wore the Polo clothing were dudes from the street. So other than the fact that we liked the clothing, other than the fact that the clothing gave us status, you know, it's not like we were doing research or go through encyclopedias. Bro, we were too busy on the streets doing everything that we were doing other than being fly to go look up Ralph Lauren.
The kids didn't know a lot about the designer. All we cared about was getting the hot items. When was the next hot thing coming out? Who cares about Ralph Lauren?
All we cared about was the clothes, was the design, was the stitches. You know, every year something else is coming out and we have to be the first one with it.
Dudes like, yo, this Polo thing is crazy. Then it just trickled. Every year something was big.
Who got the best one? Who got the latest? The Horseman was what everyone had. But then as time went on, started getting big designs, American flag, teddy knit.
He started off with the sit-down biz, then it was the stand-up biz, the ski biz.
You had Polo USA, you had the Cookie, you had the Ski Man.
Zoes, you know what I'm saying, the anniversary, Polo Crest, Silk, the Fisherman.
Tennis Man and the Stadium, two of my favorites.
Right, Stadium line was
crazy.
Was a banging line.
Oh, I can't forget the P-Wing.
It's 92. The 92 lines was.
I can't. That was a good year for your boy too.
Yeah, that was the craziest year in the whole Polo saga. You know what I'm saying? The Stadium line destroyed Brooklyn, New York. When that thing came out, that was it.
And you see, we stay vintage. We got a piece on us. Oh, and the pants. We keep a piece on us. You heard?
Know what I'm saying? That's right. Nah, I mean, I see it, man.
Keep a piece.
This is how we moving out here.
Grand Slow, D-Vibe, Thurston, we see you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yo, it's for the upliftment of the movement.
Absolutely, the whole culture. You know what I'm saying? And that's right, man. Yo, it's crazy how people just coming out here just because of this slow movement. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
You already know.
Yeah, man.
All right, salute, my G.
Our whole Toss It Up and Raking In those videos was Polo flooded with love. You know, we went shopping. It was when it was the '92 Olympics, and we bought all the stadium stuff that we can.
The culture of Polo, that's something different. Us in them times, you know what I mean? Yeah, we like the horses, we like everything about them. We're not gonna put Ralph Lauren on this pedestal, but he wants to. But that time right there, 20th anniversary, you know what I'm saying? Them times right there.
It was those larger symbols that basically attracted us because we wanted to be seen. So those were the things that when you walked into somewhere with, you know, you can't miss those large symbols.
Every season, this man just came out with something that everybody wanted. And guess what? It had to happen. If you had it, you was the man. Then on top of it, you wanted to be the first one to have it. So, Polo, and he knew what he was doing. He definitely knew what he was doing.
Hoodies, hats, you name it, we had it. Then from the Bears, it went to the Crest. Crest every type. Flannel shirts, all types. Crest. You was just king in Brooklyn with that.
And I remember, you know, the cross flag anniversary with the hoodie, they had different kinds to it. That thing right there, man, that was the hardest piece ever. Can you imagine a young immigrant guy on the block with everybody wearing Polo and he sees something like that and everybody talking about it?
You know, you feel like you're the man, like when you have I had the double flag on. When you wear that with the moccasin,
Gucci moccasins.
I have a few, but the one I like the most was this right here. That's the Polo Crest right here. Like, you know, somebody have that on, you're a little head. Like, it was, back in the days, it was like $500, $600 sweaters. That's like the whole month of paycheck just to get one of those. You know what I'm saying? And then, oh my God, Indian hat with the matching jacket. Probably. When this came on, it was a must-have. Game changing, $3.25 a sweater. Working minimum wage in the store part-time. We had to save a lot to get these things.
You have to think back. I mean, you're talking about late 80s, early 90s. You're talking about kids that were maybe 16, 15, 17 years old. To be able to afford a $400, $200 sweater back then? No way. I remember my mother gave me $200 to go school shopping one year, and I got into so much trouble because I came back with one sweater. That was all I could afford.
If you were not a real dope boy, you were not getting real money, man, you had no access to Polo. And remember, it wasn't only Polo. Gucci, the real Roxanne, and all these people, they were wearing the top of the top. You understand what I'm saying? In the hood, they had dudes wearing the top of the top. So Gucci, Bally's, and Polo. Polo was kind of like, you know, middle class, you know what I'm saying? But it was hard too, because you had to have money to get it. And you couldn't get it everywhere. You understand what I'm saying? So it was the real dudes that know how to make money that was getting Polo, man. That was wearing it. That was it. If you're a regular dude, you're just gonna be on the sideline watching the real dudes do their thing.
Ralph Lauren made this design to really whoever that could afford it. But us in the hood, we loved it so much and we wanted to be a part of it so much, we couldn't afford it. Some had to do whatever they had to do to get it. Some had to get it by robbing, some had to get it by boosting. Like me, myself, I had to get it by using my intelligence through my moms that used to get little gifts by bringing it home, like, you know, whatever they give for a child. But me personally, when I really started buying ITs on my own, I had to use my intelligence.
Once I see I was getting the girls' attention, I made sure to go all of my way, however to get it, because I had a friend that his father works at the Polo factory. So it made it much easier for me to get my hands on whatever I needed and want.
My uncle got a job at Polo. And he called us one day and said, hey, yo, guess what? I'm working at Polo. And he was like, get out of here. It's like, no, I'm working at Polo. Being an opportunist that I am, getting stuff, I just started seeing what Polo could do for me. I mean, you can ask anybody. I was the Flatbush supplier. We had Friday nights at my house. I had people lined up outside my house, letting people in 2, 3 at a time. Selling stuff. I had stuff lined up all across my living room. My father never knew that this little bear would do this. I mean, we was paying our mortgage with the Polo. That's what it did for us. Because we used to just go, offices in Jersey, we'll rack up, Friday night, open market.
And I had a job. I was working at Dr. J's. I used to save my little checks, days and days. Weeks after 2 weeks, just to get a shirt there, a shirt there, you know, double up one after another, you know, double up, you know, to get what we gotta get, you know. When it comes, you know, we have to buy from the bosses, like Jay-Z said, you know, buy a brand new sweater, half price.
1992 is my year. That's the year I really came into my own. I was watching Polo a lot. I was looking at all the fly Polo gear like the older kids were wearing. 1992, I was 14. I was able to have my own job, make my own money, and I was able to buy exactly what I want.
The thing with Haitians is, you know, because of our culture and because of our families, there were very few boosters. We were the type of dudes that worked at McDonald's and drove Domino pizza cars to make some money just to put on some PLO.
And unfortunately, me, I had to steal. So I hate to say it, I didn't really want to do it, but for me to get the gear so I could, you know, stay fresh with my friends, I had to, you know, go different places and stuff with my boys and do things that I didn't really want to do. You know, like stealing, going to the stores, you know, with the how you say, the wrapping foil with the duct tape all around it, brown paper bag. We're going inside and act like, you know, we shopping and stuff, you know, and we put stuff in our bag. We have somebody else watching the cameras. unfortunately, that's what we had to do.
It was the summer after my freshman year in high school. I might have been 14 and a half, 15 years old. My mother sent me to the store to buy, I don't remember if it was milk, what it was, but as I'm on my way to the store, there was these older dudes that lived around the corner from me. They were really fly, always used to wear a lot of polo and stuff. So when I bumped into them, I'm like, where you guys going? They're like, we're going boosting. So I'm like, you're going boosting, what's that? They're like, we're going to New Jersey to steal polo and Guess clothing. So I'm like, for real? I'm like, can I come? So they're like, okay, get a book bag and you can come. So I'm like, all right, let me buy this for my mother, I'll be right back. And I went to the store, bought the milk, brought it to my mother, grabbed my book bag, and I went to Jersey. Stole my first polo shirt from Macy's, and from there, it was a wrap.
Get right clothes out to work, 2 jobs. A sweater costs $4.95. That's too much money for me to buy a sweater. So I get my hustle on. I had a brother, so all we do, we go to Macy's, we go to Bloomingdale's, we go to Polo Mansion, we stop stealing clothes.
The sweaters were $399 in 1992. $400 for a sweater, that's crazy. So dudes was going up in Macy's, Bloomingdale's, boosting like crazy, grabbing racks, because you know they had them with the alarms, and it's crazy because dudes were stealing so much out of Macy's that they started, I think we're the ones that started them putting the ink alarms, because the regular alarms, those were easy to break. You know, we would just put big magnets on them and they'd come right off.
It was all about getting it, man. Running in stores, going there all the way to Yonkers, the last stop on the Fortune, the BFO, steaming out. That's all it was about back in the days.
I remember I went to the mansion, Polo Mansion. I went to steal, and I didn't know if it was like that. There was no camera, no nothing. So I'm like, I just stick to stuff, and you know, while I was walking out the door, they caught me, and they was about to call my parent, you know, my father, and I was crying, you know, and I'm like, please, you know, call my father, I'm gonna get in trouble. He might buy a ticket and send me home.
I remember one day I was in one of the stores, and these 2 guys, it was stealing, but unfortunately you could tell that they was kind of nervous. You know, they kept looking around and stuff like that. So while we seen them looking around, we was there to steal. So what we did, we went outside and we waited for them. And when we waited for them, you know, we was dressed, we didn't have no really polo on, we had some black outfits on. So we kind of looked like police. So when they came outside, so we jumped and we said, hey, where you going? They dropped the bags, they started running because they thought we was DT or undercover. So we didn't even have to steal. Just grabbed the bags and we kept it moving.
Me, I didn't boost. You know, I bought mines, I worked hard, did what I had to do, I did my trades. Don't get me wrong, I knew D-Ceps, I knew dudes, boosters, all that. So I used all that mentality that I used from all the dudes I knew. God, if I had to buy low, I had to trade low, whatever, I just had to get that low.
The only thing that gave us a sense of identity when we started wearing it was the polo. Because we wanted to identify with the fiber of what America is, although we didn't know what America is, but we were trying to strive to understand what it means to be an American, man. What it is. All living things on this planet camouflage to fit in their environment. So thus far, we also ourselves have to fit in and camouflage within our own environment. The only way we know how to do that was through polo in this ghetto, man. We know pain and misery, Kool-Aid, 25 cent, 50 cent type of drinks and all that. Although we couldn't afford it, but we knew what it took, and we accepted the reality. Therefore, when polo came through, we accepted it. We suffered for it. We knew what it is. We knew what the American ideal stands for, what it represents. Polo itself was a way for us to infiltrate and enculturate and assimilate.
It never took away from who Haitians are or really are. Because we've been in this world from the beginning. Was the first country to be free from slavery.
As a young Haitian, our watch was good. Because I know we're classic people. We like, you know, everything classic. So Polo was the uprising, the most uplifting clothing line.
The little bit that I pull on and the friends that shows me the love and make me feel like, hey, what you have on is fly, well, then it became a necessity. But at the beginning, it was never like that. Because putting it on, I thought I was putting on a regular clothing. But I really got into it through my mom's being amongst like Jewish friends. Make you feel like you have that authority of just knowing that, hey, I'm rocking that low.
The polo was so extreme that the the Haitians, when they started wearing it, they didn't gain the respect right away. They just looked like more easy Vicks. As I have friends around me, they be like, yo, who that down there? And you see some guys coming down with Polo on. And they be like, who's that in that low? And then we be looking, they start turning, it must be the Haitians. Because they turn, because they see the crowd of us down here, they don't want to get robbed. So, you know, my friends be like, yeah, let's go get them.
That's why we need the respect, so I felt like we need to mingle in and we need to be seen.
We had a couple of places in Brooklyn, New York, where the young kids used to go and hang out. You had Abbey Square Mall, which is Fulton Mall downtown. That was a hot spot where all the low heads, low lives, and all the young people would go. King's Plaza is another one. King's Plaza was notorious, especially for Friday afternoons. You have a lot of young people over there hanging out in the mall, going to the movie theater, even doing some, thought lifting. You know what I'm saying? It was dope.
When they got into Polo, it started getting real noticeable. But then they really started getting robbed because nobody could accept it or respect it that the people that they don't respect is wearing Polo.
Believe it or not, this is why a lot of Haitian kids lashed out. It wasn't that we were tough, it was just all that pressure, it gets to a point where you crack. You can't take it no more. So, the first person that messes with you, you explode on.
In my times, Haitians were disrespected a lot. You had people saying, you Haitian, you got HIV, go back to your country, you're a foreigner, you don't belong here, we don't want you here, to the point where they had names for them.
The first name that Haitian got bullied by was calling boat people, as if that they classify us as we just came straight in America through the boat. You know what I'm saying? Struggling, and when they realized, that didn't work, then they switch. It's like every year they come up with a different theme or a different name. If it's not the Haitian boat people, then it would be HBO, which stands for
Haitian body odor.
Crazy. They used to call us Haitian booty scratches.
They even had this one stupid little song they used to sing.
Haitian barbaration, go back to your nation.
If you please, please go back, you Haitian.
Therefore, you're in the street, man, talk about 20 and D. We have to find somewhere, something to seal ourselves, a sense of identity that will earn us our respect. Polo was the only way out, and we understood that. And when we started wearing that thing, it wasn't about Ralph Lauren, man. We understand now, respect what American icon is. When you came from Haiti, Jacques Dessalines, the first emperor of Haiti, himself, his crown was made in England. Where's his crown? It's just lost in mystery and history. We have yet in Haiti to know where his crown is. But yet, when we were the purple crown from Polo and Ralph Lauren, we yet put on his crown. And the hood understood us. Because they know, listen, man, these Haitians over there, we might have been stumbling them up, like one of my little friend named Anani. I was in 7th grade, right there on Leftis and Empire, man. I had 61, I watched them cover her with snow. Until her head could not even stick out. Police station right next door, man. Nobody came out to save her. Because we were Haitian.
The bilingual classes on the 3rd floor of Leftis. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, they was like alienated from us, man. Not just like, it's like, you got black people, you got Jamaicans, you got Trinidad, but the Haitians was segregated from us because they just had this one corridor. And it was like a dark corridor up there.
Can you imagine this? You send your kids to school, and when they get to school, it's the survival of the fittest, you know what I'm saying, on many levels, you know what I'm saying, in terms of fashion, in terms of, preventing other people from beating them up. It was that serious. Try to imagine this. You go to school to learn, they have to carry bats, guns, knives, you know what I'm saying, to protect themselves, to prevent themselves from getting beat up by other kids. Tilden was one of the schools in Brooklyn. Once you hear the name, you get the chills. Just like Erasmus, just like Wingate. I remember if you went to IS 161 in the early 90s, you should know about this Haitian kid that bought this 45 Magnum in the school. When he pulled that Magnum out, Even the principal ran. The principal could not believe it. A kid that age with a big gun like that, that's how bad it was, you know, in terms of being a Haitian and you trying to defend yourself. They were not having that. It was that serious. After a while, the Haitian kids got so mad, like, yo, it's whatever now. We ready to die. Because where we came from, we had to die for our freedom, and this is just cupcake cookies to us, you know what I'm saying? So this kid came with the Magnum 45, he pulled it out, everybody scrambled, the dean, the principal. These schools were very bad, they were very corrosive. Most of them, you know, prevented kids from learning. And sometimes it wasn't their fault. When you go to school, most of the parents did not know what was going on in the school. So, you know, the kids would not tell their parents unless it got out of hand and the parents would find out.
A school is for education. You understand what I'm saying? A school is for education. Jeff, just like a war zone, Vietnam.
A war zone like many parts of New York City where the combatants are well armed.
We're announcing today a $28 million, 18-month program to upgrade security systems at the 40 public high and middle schools with the highest number of violent incidents.
It was the city's answer to a series of shootings in the public schools. In the latest and the worst, 2 freshmen at Brooklyn's Thomas Jefferson High School were shot to death Wednesday by a 15-year-old classmate. The mayor was on his way to give a speech at the school when it happened. Ian Moore and Tyrone Sinkler were gunned down 15 feet from 2 policemen patrolling the building. Metal detectors, which have become a fact of life in many New York schools, were not operating in the building that day. There was only enough money to run them 1 day a week.
I used to go to Lafayette High School in Brooklyn, which I got sent to after I got kicked out of Sheepshead Bay, which is also in Brooklyn. Across the street from Lafayette were Marlboro Projects.
Avenue W, West 11th Street. 2 sides, 28 buildings to death, man. Because, you know, out here Marlboro is blooded out. So, you know, all these Marlboro cats used to stand right in front of John's Deli, just waiting for cats to come out, to get their load, to get whatever they need. Their lunch money, their watches, their sneakers.
These guys, they couldn't stand me, you know. And it was mainly because of the fact that I used to wear a lot of polo. I was fly, I used to get the attention of all the girls. But at the same time, you know, I wasn't one to back down to nobody. So, you know, we fought a couple of times, but I never backed down to these guys. One day when I was in gym, come out of gym, I go to the locker room, my locker's broken. They took my Polo Indian head knit sweater, they took my Guess boots, they took my Guess jeans, they took my Polo jacket, and I'm stuck there in school with shorts and a t-shirt. And what pissed them off even more was that when I called my mother and had my brother come bring me clothing for me to change into, I had him bring me the same Indian head sweater because I had 3 of them.
A lot of things took place over here, a lot of fights. A lot of kids got set up for their clothes. A lot of kids got taken for their money. A lot of kids, you know, were in suspension. They had to get their parents to come. They used to come here and wait for the kids coming out, John Dewey, so they could pick on them, you know, trying to take their Polo gears, their Guess gears, or whatever gear, or just bullying them, period. This school right here represents the essence in terms of being a young Haitians, because a lot of young Haitians went to that school.
You see this path right here? This was my runway every morning before I go to class. I would make sure I walk very slowly so all the kids could see me in my new fresh Polo gear. Whatever I was wearing that day, I had to make sure everyone sees it. You know, I had to plant the seed because I wanted to be like the next hot dude in the school, because all the upperclassmen that came before me, they were a lot of Polo. Wilson was the man. Wilson was the #1 Polo Haitian man in the school. I was only 14 years old. I had to know all the Polo men, all the low hair, all the veterans. T. Joe, Jin Shalud, the graffiti kids, 5MH. I knew like Omar, I knew Derek, Chasm, another kid from Crown, Gary. I couldn't imagine Gary, but if I had to wear more gear than him, but he was hard, so like he was one of the main people I looked up to, besides Wilson and some other upperclassmen, you know. Like this was my life, man, every day, you know. I rep this all day.
1, 2, yeah. outside medication. This is Canarsie High School. This school had a lot of beautiful women in it. Haitians, Jamaicans, Trinidadians, African Americans, so many beautiful girls in there. And the kids used to come here, the guys used to come here to get these girls. And when they come here, they would dress in their latest wares. Polo, Tommy, Jabot, Guess, you name it. You know, they would try to get it to get these girls. And most importantly, we had something called Beat Down Fridays. Beat Down Fridays is basically every Friday, these other kids who are not Haitian would be waiting outside for the Haitian kids to come out and to try to start trouble with them. You know what I'm saying? Trying to bully them, try to fight them, all kind of mess. And this is why this school is extremely important in the legacy of young Haitians coming up in Brooklyn, New York during the 80s and the 90s.
Call me whatever insult you wanted, but I was fly, then you're in my low. So you could come with this, I'm like, yeah, call me names, call me nicknames, but you can never be fly to me. I'm Haitian and I wear it low, and I wear it proud, and you couldn't take it from me. They tried, got the scars.
Right now we're for the middle of high school. That was the girls' school back then. If you wanted all the nice, good-looking girls, that's the place to be. I used to have mad fun there. Go to school with my book bag, with beers. You had a pen, a piece of paper in your hand, just stand in the hallway to show off the Polo sign. Used to be proud to say I'm Haitian, but a lot of people was like, how you dress like that, you Haitian. They couldn't understand that. Haitian not supposed to have certain outfits you would have on people if they didn't know who you are. Then we're just trying to set you up. Most of the time for me to go certain place because of that Polo, and I really liked, it was just to me, I was in no gang or nothing. I just liked the symbol, I liked the clothes, the outfit. But every time I had to step out the house, I had to look for a knife or something to carry with me. Somebody's gonna step up to me, I'm gonna try to get robbed. So I had to protect myself. Even though you're from the neighborhood, it didn't matter. Right here in Bedford and Glenwood, they had a party. Me and my cousin Teddy, we went to the party. While we were walking, these guys saw we had a teddy bear sweater. They started chasing us. Never gonna forget it. I jumped behind these people's house because it was at nighttime. So I had to jump from one house to another house. Cars running, trying to block me right here, just so they could take my sweater from me. So now, but I had an idea who that person is. So I had to go home, you know, get what you gotta get the next day to go after them because they didn't get me, but they got my cousin's jacket that night.
There were certain pieces, man, like big Zoes and suicide jackets. People would kill you for that, bro. Like, straight up. And if you wasn't ready to defend your life or your gear, it was either give it up or lose your life, one or the other.
My man, I'm not gonna say his name, you know what I'm saying? He was on Franklin, copping, you know what I'm saying? And he was coming out the spot, and he got down the stairs, got halfway down the block. Some cat approached him, was like, yo, what's up with that jacket? So, you know, he was arrogant, and he turned around, and then pop. He felt like the dude hit him, you know what I'm saying? So like, they turned around, was like, the dude had hit him with a razor, son. Like, back here, he gave him 70 stitches behind his high-tech jacket. That's how serious it was. That caused me to start lifting weights. I started boxing.
Crown Street itself was a problem. You know what I'm saying? You got Crown, you got President Street, you got Kingston Ave, you got Sterling Street. You know what I'm saying? You got Leffers, you got Wingate, you know what I'm saying?
There was no game. You know what I'm saying? A lot of Haitians, Jamaicans, Trinidadians, Bajans, they're on this block. The whole Caribbean, you heard? Forget about it. There was a zoo out here. You know what I'm saying? Sterling and Nostrum, you feel me?
I almost died for that thing happened to me. It was in April 1992. I was coming from the skating ring in Empire Boulevard. I used to live at Sterling Street in North Street, block away from the skating ring. So I was walking down the block. I see, when I cross the light is for me to turn green for me to walk going home. When I cross the light, I see a minivan jump the curb behind me. So I stopped running. And when I stopped running, going home, I lost my keys for me to get to the building. So before I make it to the building, there was a beef patty store right there in North Street in Sterling. So I tried to open the door. There was about 10 dudes in a minivan. They grabbed me, they slapped me in my head. I got 16 stitches on my head for that Polo Seco ski. That's a turtleneck.
Every Sunday we used to go in the Empire. Yeah, we used to go to Empire skating ring, profile, you know, skate, mess with the girls there. You know we normally do it. Actually, one
Of course, I'm not gonna remember the exact date though, but one Sunday we decided that we're gonna go to the city and hit up some stores.
There was a new item getting released by Ralph Lauren somewhere in downtown Manhattan. Only one store was supposed to have it, and we got me, it was my cousin and little brother. We found out exactly what store was gonna have it, so we got to jump on everybody. We ran out there to buy it.
You know, we all thinking that we putting this Ralph Lauren clothes on just to fit in and to look nice.
It so happened we were poloed out. One of us had the P-Wing suit on, everything P-Wing. I had the teddy bear combination on, and my brother had the countryman combination on.
And then, you know, as soon as we walk out of the stores, here come like 60 dudes.
We was like by the World Trade Center, and I think it was 3 or 4 guys that had on Polo. So
apparently someone went to the roller skating rink on Empire and let everyone know what store was gonna have it. They decided they were gonna rob the store. On their way to robbing the store, they found us first.
Want to rob us for what we have on.
So all I look, I see one of my boys, he was like, yo, let's get them. But I was all the way in the back. So all I look, I see them guys started running.
And then 2 of my cousins, they ran downstairs in the train station trying to get the attention of the booth lady that was in there. But they left me upstairs on my own. Me being stubborn and not liking to run. I don't run for anything. If you're gonna kill me on the spot. I will not run for nothing. So the 60 dudes surrounded me and went in my clothes. And you know, I put up a little fight and until one of them pulled out a knife.
At the end of it, cousin got stabbed.
I didn't even take it off on my own. They had to actually yank it off of me. That's how much I was fighting back.
I'm not sure exactly what they took from them at the time, but I know all I saw one of them with a jacket in their hand. And once I saw them with a jacket in their hand, we was walking, then we looked from nowhere. Police started coming from everywhere. But when I look, I was right on the floor. I think the police clotheslined me or something. So what they did, it was like, I think they caught like 21 of us, and they took us to the first precinct right by the Holland Tunnel.
In order to keep your polo, I mean, there really was no limitations on the things that people did. I mean, everything from razors in your mouth, orange box cutters in your coat, you know, to knives, switchblades, to even guns. I know it's hard to fathom, but that was the kind of impact that polo had in those years. Many people have died for it, and many people would have killed for it.
The boy had the speeds on his legs. They couldn't touch him, man.
Back in the 80s, we had different crews, different gangs, different little groups that just, you know, gave themselves a name. But the biggest crew that I can recall being a little youngster was Izod, you know. Izod really stays in my memory because they used to be the one going around junior high school and high school, like, you know, robbing little kids for, like, you know, dumb stuff, book bags, sneakers, and stuff like that. Izod really, their main headquarters was really on Parkside Avenue between Bedford and Rogers. Then it merged into where I used to live, which was President between Union and Rogers. So they used to call themselves the Vietnam, because you won't walk out there and walk out alive, either with whatever you have on.
We down there like 40 deep. You know what I'm saying?
Izod started dying out, then they merged into the Decepticons that was walking around with like hammers and stuff like that.
It was probably the biggest crew out of them all.
Of course, you know the low lives, everybody knows that.
Low life is short for Polo life.
But there was also LP, which was low profile. My homies, the twins, Phil and Paul, they started up G-Force.
You had St. John's, you had Rogers Ave, you had BMW.
Even down Flatbush, you had a gang called FBK, which was the
Flatbush Polo Kids.
As far as other crews besides Low Life who were doing the low, there weren't too many out there back then, but the ones that I remember that were going hard and respected, Franklin Ave Posse was doing their thing hard. Roosevelt Projects in Bed-Stuy, they had a mob that was going hard. You know what I mean? Steam Team was out doing their thing, you know, but like I said, Ralphie Kids and Polo USA from the Garvey, that's where it all started there.
we always wanted to dress the flyest out of all crews. It was a lot of crews that wore polo. But when we started No Lives, you know what I mean? We just want to be different from Decepticons and all these other crews that were just getting on the train, beating people's brains in. We say, you know what, we're gonna beat the white people's brains in by stealing their stuff.
A lot of people spawned because of what we were doing. Because everybody couldn't be down with us, so you had to go start your own clique. A lot of people who tried to come and be down with us, the first thing that happened, you hang out with us, you go boosting with us, and then get robbed by us.
We just formed a whole big team. There was FAP already, then we formed LP, so it was like FAP, LP. And we united together as one.
Tribe Called Gas, Face Heads, Acclaimed, which was composed of a whole bunch of Haitian kids.
We ourselves, Haitian, wanted to create something on our own. As long as you have like 10 or more crew, you're able to create a name for yourself.
Haitians ran us off of Empire, yo. Huh? They came through with chains, bats, whips, coming out the book bag, the girls, everybody.
You had no choice but to protect what you have on, you know what I mean? Because when you have the law, it's one thing, but rocking it to a different neighborhood is a different thing.
We would not leave our block or our neighborhood just like that. When we're going to a party, it's like 5, 6 of us in a bunch. That way, you know, people would be skeptical, or the people that were trying to rob us, they'd be like, you know what, it's a whole bunch of them, we're not gonna try to attack them right now.
You had cliques all over Brooklyn, man. But
that's how we came about.
You know, they couldn't stop us, and Haitians only got bigger and bigger in the struggle. Despite all the downfalls, despite the name calling, despite the discrimination, despite everything you have to wear us, you know what? We're still here, and we're still striving. You know what? I still got the load, I'm still Haitian.
We had one way, a way for the youth. Came from Haiti in the 80s, we're no punks, man. We knew we came here, we would bleed and suffer for them, but we bear the cross for them all. We understood the consequences and sacrifice that had to be made. And here, you watch the documentary, that's our story.
Ralph Lauren has created somewhat of a cult following. Vintage pieces are still collected even today. You can easily find vintage polo being auctioned and sold on eBay and Craigslist. Certain pieces, such as the Snow Beach pullover, go for as much as $3,500.
I mean, at the time, to me, it was just, you know, it was the end thing. It was what I loved. It was what brought me attention. But if I knew that it would be such an investment.
Depending on what item you hold in, what polo item, and the condition of it, and the year it came out, a sweater or a jacket that was $60, $80 in 1992 is easily $1,000 right now.
Take a piece like a suicide sweatshirt. When it first came out, I guarantee you it was no more than like $400. But nowadays, for you to pay for a suicide sweatshirt, the minimum you need is like $1,200 and up.
When you're looking into vintage, there's different things you gotta look at. You have to look into, you know, the condition, the size, you know, the era it came from, and the people who's looking for it.
I have sweater shirts, coats that range anywhere from, you could say, $350 to $8,000. My most expensive piece, actually, is worth $8,000. I have the Purple Crest, which is the rarest color to find in the Crest family.
I sold all my polo and bought me a cherry red 1993 Infinity G20 straight from Polo money. Everything, cash.
Low heads for life. You see how we do. You see the swag. You see the workwear. Ain't nobody wearing this. Only low heads can wear this. Vintage low shoes. Official. Official. 1967, Ralph Lauren. We Polo Kings. Then we graduate, you know? We become made men of this low game.
The city that never sleeps has changed. Haitians are now free to walk around without fear, speak Creole, and embrace the culture without worrying about the consequences of being different. Haitians and Haitian Americans can be found participating in and influencing all aspects of American and international culture today, including art, entertainment, politics, business, and sciences.
Right now, they are the doctors, the engineers, the lawyers, the entrepreneurs, the CEOs. They start from the bottom all the way up to being the CEO. So I know, as far as Haitians, they definitely don't get a lot of credit, but they deserve all the credit.
The foundation has been laid and the battles have been fought. Though there is still a long way to go, we are very proud of how far we've come. This is the Haitian Polo documentary.
That's a crazy little story for you.
Those were some of the ones that stood out the most.
First and foremost, shout out to all the OGs and all the people who laid it down.
Back around our ways where I used to hang out.
Like way back.
Stepped into the game and made it what it is for everybody to have some low in the hood.
Those dudes really kept the culture going.
We stay fresh from sneakers to socks to pants to sweaters.
We love Polo. You see what I got on? The low. It just brought us together.
I always gotta look nice. They just love what I had on.
Was the togetherness thing. It didn't matter where you was from or what you was about, but like, let's have fun.
My G's held that down to the fullest. You know what I mean?
We set a whole trend for New York City.
We used to do a lot of stuff. We took a lot of licks, but we kept on taking.
You have to be there to understand it.
Got the Indian hat jacket with this, a pair of Guess jeans, a pair of Jordans. You know, you fly dude running out of it, man. Like, you're in the street of Brooklyn.
They got those boots.
I still rocking them, you know what I mean? I still rocking them.
It didn't ever be done. It's like that 1804 when we got our independence. It's like that.
Trini, Jamaican, Bajan, nobody else at all, but as far as my experience, the Haitians are the ones that actually let things happen because they take action for what they want to do. They don't just talk and, and procrastinate and all that. They take action. And that's the only way you're going to make it in this world, being unconventional and taking action on what you do. And I applaud them because that's what the Haitians who I know, that's exactly what they do.
They took it to another level, man. Like, and it wasn't really nothing you could really say about it.
There was something higher than us that we were trying to strive toward, that we ourselves did not understand. So therefore, what is the Haitian Polo documentary?
Being Haitian and wearing polo is the documentary.
This came out the vault, out the Ralph Lauren vault. Open the coat up, God. Peeling off our tees. That's what's up. That's how we did it. That's how the guards taught Ralph Lauren how to rock his layers. No, that's what's up.